The Tale of Cinder and Ruby. Long, long ago, in a quiet valley tucked between emerald hills, lived a kind and beautiful girl named Cinder. She was loved by everyone for her warm heart and hardworking nature. She lived happily with her father. But one day, her father remarried. He brought home a new mother and her daughter Ruby. From that day on, Cinder's life changed. The stepmother and Ruby were mean and made her do all the chores. While Ruby played all day, Cinder had to cook, clean, and work in the fields from dawn until dusk. One evening, news reached the village. The magistrate was holding a grand festival at the palace. Everyone was invited. Cinder wanted to go, but the stepmother said, "You can go only after you finish all these tasks." She gave her impossible chores. First, she had to plow a huge, rocky field with a tiny wooden hoe. It was a task that'd take days. Suddenly, the hoe snapped. Cinder sat down and cried, fearing she would never finish in time. Just then, a magical golden cow descended from the heavens. Its fur shone like the morning sun. "Don't cry, Cinder," the cow seemed to say. In an instant, the entire field was perfectly plowed. Next, the stepmother ordered her to fill a giant jar with water. But the jar had a hole in the bottom. No matter how much water Cinder poured, the jar stayed empty. She felt hopeless once again. Suddenly, a large toad hopped out from behind the bushes. It climbed onto the jar and plugged the hole with its back. With the toad's help, the jar was soon full. Cinder smiled and thanked her little friend. But the chores weren't over. Now she had to husk and sort a mountain of grain before the moon rose. Suddenly, a cloud of sparrows descended from the sky. They began to peck and sort the grain with their tiny beaks. In no time, the work was finished. The sparrows chirped a happy goodbye and flew away. The final task was to weave a long piece of hemp cloth. Cinder's hands were sore and her eyes were heavy. Then a gentle spirit appeared, the soul of her mother. She finished the weaving with a touch of magic. "Go to the festival, my daughter," she whispered. She left Cinder a beautiful silk dress and a pair of magical shoes. Cinder put on the dress and the shoes. She felt like she was walking on air. She hurried toward the palace. She ran through the woods, her heart beating with excitement. The palace was just across the stream. As she reached the stream, she saw the magistrate's grand procession passing by. She tried to hide in the bushes, but in her haste, she tripped. One of her beautiful flower shoes fell off and drifted into the water. Fearing she would be seen, she didn't stop to pick it up. She vanished into the forest with only one shoe. The magistrate found the tiny, beautiful shoe. "I must find the girl who owns this shoe," he vowed. The news spread quickly. The magistrate's men visited every house, asking every girl to try on the shoe. When they reached Cinder's house, Ruby tried to squeeze her foot into the shoe, but it was far too small. Then Cinder stepped forward. She gently took the shoe and placed it on her foot. It was a perfect fit. The magistrate was overjoyed. He had found the kind and beautiful girl from the forest. "Will you be my wife?" he asked. Cinder, with tears of happiness, agreed. Her life of hardship was finally over. A magnificent wedding was held at the palace. Cinder and the magistrate were married amidst cheers and celebration. As for the stepmother and Ruby, they learned a valuable lesson. They saw that goodness is always rewarded in the end. Cinder lived happily ever after, proving that a kind heart and hard work will always find their way to happiness. The end.